Hello, everyone. My name is Marcio Cots. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Get Global International. We are a digital governance consultancy, and we are glad to be here with one of our hosts, one of our guests, to talk about data privacy, especially in an environment where companies are doing business internationally and need to deal with data privacy in different jurisdictions. And today's guest here is Rafael Matiz. Thank you so much for being with us, Rafael.
Thank you, Marcio. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Perfect. And Rafael, he works for Aon. It's one of the biggest insurance companies in the world. He's responsible for Latin America. But Rafael, I'm not going to talk about you. I would rather ask you to talk a little bit about you. And I'm going to ask the same question that I usually ask everyone that we have the opportunity to talk about data privacy. How did you get involved with data privacy?
Sure. Thank you, Marcio. Actually, one important thing to know is that Aon is not an insurance company. We're a broker company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like
yeah, you are in the insurance business, but you are not an insurance company, but sell insurance, right?
Correct.
Perfect.
Correct. That's correct. So yes, first of all, well, yes, my name is Rafael Matiz. I'm a lawyer based in Bogota, Colombia. I've been working in these data privacy matters, compliance matters since, let's say, 2015, maybe, almost 10 years now, working in this field. And it's been a journey, for saying the least. It's been a journey. It's a good field to work in as a lawyer because it's challenging. It challenges you all the time, and it's a good place to be within a company. I mean, right now we have a lot of challenges happening across Latin America, for example, in the data privacy field. So a role like mine, it's important not only for one team, but also for the governance of the company. The senior leadership of the company are looking for people that are involved or that have knowledge in this compliance matter. So that's something that I really like to do. Normally, I'm engaging projects, initiatives inside the company. So I'm in connection all the time with the senior leadership, with clients, with internal and external client. So that's pretty much what I like to do to demonstrate the importance of these compliance matters to all the teams, and to try to perform like that, this legal mindset, this compliance mindset around the company and within the company.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And let me ask you something else, Rafael. We do understand. I'm a European lawyer. I'm a Brazilian lawyer. But at the end of the day, how do you see data privacy governance? We do know that it's regulated by laws, but do you feel that it's mostly a legal matter, or it goes beyond that? How do you see data privacy governance?
I think definitely it goes beyond that. It's not only a regulatory issue anymore. It goes all around the companies, all around the people that works in the companies. And that's a really good question, because for my point of view, I'm working on different countries in Latin America. There's like a big statement in Latin America, which is the diversity we have in Latin America. We have different cultures, different languages, and this regulatory environment is challenging every day, because right now we're seeing that many regulations are coming into force. Mm-hmm. Like every single month, we see different regulations coming into force from different countries. For example, we just had a new cyber regulation for Chile last month, and it comes with a lot of challenges, and this goes beyond this regulatory environment and comes into the risk approach mindset that all the colleagues should have, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because one thing is, in one hand, you have the regulation, but the regulation is just a piece of paper. On the end of the day, if you don't apply it inside the company,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the way you should apply it, the way you can like build a bridge between the regulation and the people within the company, the colleagues, is this risk approach mindset. So at the end of the day, the regulation is really important because it set like the standards, the law itself. But if you don't have the risk approach mindset, the privacy, the data privacy mindset within the company, will be a really complicated task to perform.
Perfect, perfect. Yes, 100%. I do believe that it starts with the law, but the way you manage data privacy goes way beyond, because sometimes the solution is not just a legal matter. It's like the procedure or data mapping or privacy by design, many different other things that
Correct.
goes actually way beyond a legal opinion and things like that. And we've seen that many data privacy professionals, they come from different backgrounds. Either they are
Correct.
lawyers, or they come from information security, or they come from compliance, or they come from even from other fields, right? But you definitely need a pretty good legal team to advise you on the matters that you should address. Sometimes you don't address with legal tools, you need to use other tools, but at the end of the day, it's still a legal matter, right? Let me ask you something else here. What do you think would be the best approach to build an effective data privacy program in a region like Latin America?
Well, Marcio, that's a really good question. I mean, as I was mentioned before, Latin America diversity it's key in order to build a strong and a comprehensive data privacy program. For example, we have different cultures, we have diversity of regulations, regulatory environments that are really challenging right now. Uh, we also have languages, different languages. For example, in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. In the rest of the country, they speak Spanish. But at the end of the day, the cultures are quite different. So that means that building an effective program starts with understanding this local context. That's really
Mm-hmm.
important in this first stage. So in this sense, we begin with this risk-based approach, mapping mapping out what data we collect, where it flow, and how sensitive it is. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and then when this in mind, we can somehow tailor our privacy policies and procedures to fit each country's necessities and business practices. And in this moment, at this stage, it's really important to work alongside with other areas such as legal, compliance, IT, and of course the business. This
Mm-hmm.
like stakeholder engagement is key in order to
Mm-hmm.
have a really strong, a really comprehensive data privacy program that could be transparent for all the stakeholders within the company and outside the company. So that's key. That's like the first stage that I think is important to make it work in this like fully cultural, language, and regulatory diverse environment that is LATAM. Another
Mm-hmm.
really important thing here is that training and awareness for colleagues. I think that's key. That's really important if we are trying to demonstrate the importance of compliance matters, which is data privacy as itself, and continuous education and training are vital as is investing in disinvesting in technology, disinvesting in different talks, privacy talks within the company. That's something that I really like to do with my team. We perform maybe 2 or 3 privacy talks during the year to all these countries based on their necessities, based on their business capabilities, based on their requirements, like their internal requirements. So I think that's pretty much what I think. I guess it's important for a Latin American environment, which in summary is um, training and awareness as a key part of the privacy program, and stakeholder engagement, and a good governance. Because at the end of the day, if you have this senior leadership engagement in order to perform data privacy activities, you are just winning by default. So I think that's pretty much what I have to say in this case.
Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, because working in Latin America is a challenge because, as you well said, even though most countries they speak Spanish, they don't actually have the same kind of culture, and they don't regulate and deal with data privacy in the same way.
Correct.
And there is Brazil. Brazil is something apart because in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. It's the biggest country in Latin America, the biggest economy, just because of the size. So that's another challenge, right?
It is.
But if there is one thing that I think makes things a little bit easier for someone who is going to be responsible for running a data privacy program across Latin America is the fact that most countries, they follow the European standard, which is the GDPR. Because Get Global International, it has this name mostly because of the slogan, which is digital governance nowadays is global. And when we have to deal with companies from, for example, the United States doing business in Latin America or Europe, that's a different standard when it comes to regulating data privacy. And that becomes a big challenge, mostly because Americans don't quite understand how things are done in Europe and of course in Latin America, because we follow the same standard. So we usually need an international data privacy program with some principles that you are going to find in any and mostly all regulations. We try to raise the bar using the European regulation because I believe it's the most comprehensive and restrictive regulation. But when you have most countries following at least the same standard, it makes things a little bit easier, even though there are things in Colombia that is not the same thing, or it's not the same way that is addressed in Brazil, which is not the same way in Chile or even in Argentina. So even though you follow the same standard, you have to deal with the local regulations, as you said. So it's still a big challenge, right?
It is. And actually, there's something remarkable to say here is that most of Latin America countries are following GDPR standards right now. For example, the greatest example here is Brazil, which is one of the most advanced countries in this field, following by, let's say, Colombia, Argentina. It's a good example of that. Chile is working on being more competitive in this field, having new laws in this regard. So I guess most of the Latin American countries are trying. I definitely think they are trying to follow the best standard, the best possible standard, which is the GDPR. So I guess we're getting there. Somehow we're getting there. And sooner or later, Latin America will be as strict as European countries, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I have helped the Brazilian government debating the LGPD. We have a lot of clients in Brazil, like a big Brazilian companies such as Gerdau Go Airlines, and even international companies doing business in Brazil. We are Chanel, the luxury brands DPO in Brazil, for example. And I would say that Brazil is already in the same stage that Europe is when it comes to data privacy.
Yeah.
Because at least the big companies, they have already data privacy programs in place, and the Brazilian data privacy authority is doing a pretty good job, at least at the beginning, in maybe giving the opportunity to the market to do the right thing before they start really issuing fines and things like that. And last week, the Brazilian government has just signed a new piece of regulation giving more autonomy to the Brazilian authority.
Yes.
So that will definitely, that's one of the things that when we were debating the LGPD bill, we said we need some autonomy for this kind of authority, because one of the organizations that will have to comply with the law is the government. And therefore, we need some autonomy, and we have achieved that at this point. Now we are debating different other things. For example, I'm part of a discussion team in Brazil, as well here in the United States, that's been debating AI regulation. And I would like to ask you to share your thoughts on AI regulation. Europe already has its own regulation in place, the AI Act. Brazil and many other countries are also debating this topic. But I would like to know what do you think about AI? Do we need a regulation, or as compliance professionals, we already need to address the way we use and develop artificial intelligence, because there are other regulations that already apply to the use of artificial intelligence? How do you see it?
Well, first of all, I think that AI is a game changer for all of us. Right now, I can see that AI is allowing organizations to process and analyze amazing vast amounts of data. But as compliance professionals, it also raises new privacy concerns. Like how data is used, for example, potential biases, and transparency. That's something that we have to keep in mind as compliance professionals in order to adopt a good strategy that could match AI with data privacy matters. So organizations now need to think about not just protecting the data, but also how algorithms make decisions, and whether those decisions are fair for the data subject, or if we have to explain, like in a more comprehensive context, how the company is processing the data using the AI. So in this sense, and link it with the topic we were just discussing, regulators are really active in this topic. They're starting to pay attention. They are starting to visiting some companies to see, okay, how you guys are really working with AI, and how you guys are dealing with the data subject rights in order to be compliant and adopting these AI technologies. So companies must be proactive in managing AI-related risk in order to harmonize all the picture, like the full picture. So in one hand you have the privacy matters, the privacy regulation. In the other hand, you have the AI, and the real challenge here is how you harmonize these two in order to provide the best service, both internal to external client. So that's a challenge. because
Yeah,
at the end of
for
the
sure.
day, AI it's a game changer.
For sure, for sure. We've been helping some organizations to build their AI governance program. One of the issues is data privacy. It's not the only one because we have copyright,
Mhm.
ethical matters, information security. But when it comes to data privacy, it always starts by identifying what would be the legal base
Mm.
for an AI model to process personal information. Because Get Global International once um, asked OpenAI about what would be the legal base in Europe
Yeah.
for ChatGPT processing personal information. And the answer was that the legal base would be legitimate interest.
Mm.
But in most regulations, legitimate interest, you need to make the balance test. And one
Yes.
of the things that it doesn't make a legitimate interest is the fact that the risk um, of not complying with fundamental rights. And one of the fundamental rights in most countries is your reputation,
Mm.
your image. And some of those AI models, they have already made some statements about people that weren't true, like saying that they were criminals and things like that.
Yeah.
So, following this thought, at the end of the day, legitimate interest wouldn't be applicable to the use of artificial intelligence
Mm.
because some fundamental rights would be put at some risk. And what would be the other, legal base? In that case, I don't see any other one because consent it doesn't make sense because the volume of personal information is just tremendous. Uh, so that's a challenge. That's something that we definitely need to think about. Um, that's part of my research nowadays. What would be the best legal base for most AI models? Because I believe that's one of the biggest issues that we'll have to face as data privacy professionals to make sure that companies are using artificial intelligence properly and mitigating some data privacy risks in the future, right? Let me ask you something else. How do you test your organization, the organization you work for, in order to make sure that the organization is following all the procedures? How do you do assessments? I do believe that you have a data privacy committee in your company, and for sure you need to present to them, some assessments, some tasks in order to identify if everything is going well or if there are changes that should be made. So my question is, how do you test the organization? How do you do the assessments?
Well, Marcio, let's say that it's not only me. It's more like a teamwork
Mm-hmm.
issue. So I will say that we use several metrics, different kind of metrics. Compliance rates, for example. In one hand, in another hand, we use number of incidents or data breaches in
Mm-hmm.
order to know how many, for example, how many data breaches we have in 1 month, and what we are doing in order to mitigate the effects, the negative effects that could come naturally come with this data breach. Um, Employee training completion and
Mm-hmm.
response time to regulatory changes. I think that's key. That's really important in order to be aligned with regulatory changes. I work really close with other legal and compliance teams across Latin America, also with
Mm-hmm.
IT teams and with the business. Business it's a key player here. It's a key stakeholder because it's the business the one that is working with the clients. is the client-facing team. So at the end of the day, all that we do in the company is in the best of the clients, in the best of our internal client and our external client. So in this sense, we look really close this client trust, which is really important for us, with different indicators such as feedback, for example, from several clients, or privacy-related complaints that we could receive from clients. Also, another thing we do on a regular basis in AUN is audits. We perform different kind of audits, internal and external audits, in order to see if things are doing properly. It's good to have this third party vision in order to know, okay, I'm doing a good job. There could be probably some enhancement things to do, but it's important to have like another pair of eyes in order to see that it's under control.
Especially in different countries, right? Because as we said at the beginning of our conversation, we have some things that are peculiar to each country. So if you have someone that understands the local regulation and is able to do the assessment and tell you the things you should be working on in order to make things better, it helps, at least the person who is responsible for managing the whole international program, right?
Yeah, it totally helps to understand the full picture, because as you just mentioned, and here in Latin America, we have a lot of regulations. So we normally have external legal counsels in order to fully comply with this regulation. They're based in the country, so they know about the culture, they know about the regulator, they know how to do things inside the country. And that's a really good approach in order to be compliant with law, with internal law.
Yeah, but I believe that's just part of the solution, because sometimes you do have a proper paper, it's well written, but it doesn't mean that the organization is following all those rules. So also having someone checking how the organization behaves under certain circumstances, it might be also a good thing to do, right?
Totally agree.
Well, Rafael, thank you so much for your time. I would like to hear your final thoughts about everything that we have talked here today. But in advance, I would like to thank you for your time. And I definitely want to keep in touch, because there are many things that definitely everyone that's interested about data privacy governance, AI governance, would have the opportunity to learn from you as a professional that's responsible for a big organization in Latin America.
Thank you, Marcio. Thank you so much for having me here. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to meet you. It's been a pleasure to be part of this podcast. Really interesting matters we have discussed today. And yes, I guess that right now we're in a challenging environment, as we were talking about. Latin America, it's challenging itself, different cultures, different languages, different ways to do things, to do businesses. So I guess that the final message from my end will be, it's important to be compliant with the law, but it's also, and I think it's even more important, to have this privacy mindset within the company. Because at the end, and like I just mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, is the law is there. It's a piece of paper that you need to apply within the company, but it won't be necessarily applied in a good way if the governance is not well structured. If you have this risk-based approach mindset, and senior leadership is engaged and their commitment is real, you will have really good results at the end of the day.
I couldn't agree more. I teach here in the United States ethics for IT professionals in IT programs. And I usually say that data privacy, it's not just a legal matter, it's an ethical matter. So it goes way beyond the regulation. So thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. And for everyone that's interested in our podcast, I got to tell you that we've been interviewing very interesting professionals. As you guys already know, the last one was John Adams from Airbnb. And today I had the pleasure to talk with Rafael Matiz from Aon. So thank you so much and take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Marcio. Bye-bye.